Good morning, everyone. For today, allow us, Group 4, to discuss the Lesson 12 entitled Rizal, a National Hero. There are different forms of heroism. Some anchors their heroic deeds on nationalist ideals, and some expresses their patriotism and do sacrifices for it. According to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, heroism is simply an act of heroic behavior, particularly when it is demonstrated in the fulfillment of a high purpose or the achievement of a noble end. These Filipino heroes are the type of heroes whom was defined as a significant or important personality who performs an excellent role in any remarkable incident that occurred. They are a person of outstanding heroism or initiative in risk or endurance in agony, and a man honored after death by public adoration for tremendous service to the mankind. The great heroes of Philippine histories are deserving of the title since they had no idea they would be judged one day. They merely followed their convictions.
Who is a hero o bayani? He or she is a person who is admired for great or brave acts or fine qualities, or a person who is greatly admired. A person noted for feats or courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who risks or sacrifice his or her life.
To be a hero, you must be qualified to the criteria adopted by the Technical Committee of the National Heroes Committee on June 3, 1993 and November 15, 1995. Firstly, heroes are those who have a concept of nation and thereafter aspire and struggle for the nation's freedom. Ibig sabihin lang nito, ang ating mga bayani ay napaka-ambiguous na tao. Gagawin nila ang lahat to attain the nation's freedom from our colonizers, kahit na ba sila ay sintensyahan ng kamatayan. Second, heroes are those who define and contribute to a system or life of freedom and order for the nation. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito, ang ating mga bayani ay dapat mayroong ambag sa ating kalayaan. Maaari ito ay through painting, tula, at kahit ano pang nagdedepikto sa mga kaharasan noong panahon ng Espanyol. Third, heroes are those who contribute to the quality of life and destiny of a nation. Fourth, a hero is a part of the people's expression.
Number 5, a hero thinks of the future, especially the future generation. His concerns for the future generations must seen in his decisions and ideals. Number 6, the choice of a hero involves not only the recounting of an episode or events in history, but of the entire process that made this particular person a hero. The National Heroes Committee recommended the following figures as national heroes.
Now, let's talk about the historical heroes that were recommended as national heroes.
The first one is Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal fought for their freedom in a silent but powerful way. He did not bear arms or lead an entire army. He just preached. He believed that patriotism is innate of conduct feeling among humans. On the decree of December 20, 1898, issued by General Emilio Aguinaldo, declared December 30 of every year a day of national mourning in honor of the Dr. Jose Rizal and other victims of the Philippine Revolution. Article number 137, which organized the politico-military district of Morong into the province of Rizal, was the first official step taken by the Taft Commission to honor our greatest hero and martyr. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realonda, born on June 19, 1861 to December 30, 1896, was a Filipino national hero known for his intellectual prowess and creative brilliance. He excelled at everything he tried. including medicine, poetry, sketching, architecture, sociology, and more. Despite insufficient evidence, he was martyred by Spanish colonial authorities at the age of 35 under charges of conspiracy, sedition, and insurrection. Jose Rizal is recognized all through the Philippines for his brilliance, heroism, peaceful resistance to tyranny, and compassion. He was banished to Dapitan in northwest Mindanao after founding the La Liga Filipina, a non-violent reform movement in Manila. He spent the following 4 years in exile. The Katipunan, a secret Filipino nationalist organization, rose against Spain in 1896. Despite the fact that he had no ties to that organization and had played no role in the insurgency, Rizal was arrested and tried for sedition by the military. He was found guilty and executed publicly by a firing squad in Manila. His death persuaded Filipinos that there was no other option but to declare independence from Spain. The Philippine Revolution, fueled by Rizal's sacrifice, lasted until 1898. The Philippine country beat the Spanish army with the help of the United States, and on June 12, 1898, the Philippines declared independence from Spain, becoming Asia's first democratic nation. Jose Rizal's concept of patriotism is really motivating, and it educates us a lot about strong vision and great leadership. He taught that leaders must be willing to make sacrifices for others, even if such sacrifices are human and do not come from form of commodities. He was also a firm, unflinching believer in liberty and independence for his country from Spain, owing to his desire to free his countrymen from terrible politics tyranny. Next is Andres Bonifacio. So Andres Bonifacio founded the Katipunan. He helped the Philippines break free from the Spanish colonial rule. He fought for the country's freedom, and he is the father of the Philippine Revolution. On Article number 2946, enacted by the Philippine Legislature on February 16, 1921, made November 30 of each year a legal holiday to commemorate the birth of Andres Bonifacio. On Act number 2760, issued on February 23, 1918, confirmed and ratified all steps taken for the creation, maintenance, improvement of national monuments, and particularly for the erection of a monument to the memory of Andres Bonifacio. So why? Why is that? In 1892, Bonifacio became a member of Jose Rizal's La Liga Filipina, an organization that advocates for the reformation of the Spanish colonial authority in the Philippines. However, the group only met once because Spanish agents arrested Rizal shortly after the initial meeting and sent him to the southern island of Mindanao. Following Rizal's incarceration and deportation, Bonifacio and others resurrected La Liga in order to maintain pressure on the Spanish government to free the Philippines. He did, however, co-found an organization called Katipunan with his companion Ladislao Diwa and Teodoro Plata. Katipunan, also known as Kataas-taasang Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng mga Anak ng Bayan, or the highest and most respected society of the children of the country, was an armed rebellion organization dedicated to opposing the colonial administration. The Katipunan organization, which was largely made up of people from the lower and middle classes, quickly created regional chapters in a number of provinces around the Philippines. In 1895, Bonifacio was elected as Presidente Supremo of the Katipunan. Bonifacio, together with his companions Emilio Jacinto and Pio Valenzuela, founded the Kalayaan or Freedom newspaper. Under Bonifacio's leadership in 1896, Katipunan grew from about 300 members to more than 30,000. With a confrontational atmosphere sweeping the country and a multi-island network in place, Bonifacio's organization was ready to begin fighting for independence from Spain. As Spain redirected all of these resources to defend Manila's capital, rebel factions in other areas proceeded to clean up the remnant of Spanish resistance left behind. Cavite, a peninsula south of the city that juts in Manila Bay, had the most success in forcing the Spaniards out. The revolutionaries in Cavite were led by an upper-class political named Emilio Aguinaldo. By October of 1896, Aguinaldo's army controlled the majority of the peninsula. Bonifacio, on the other hand, commanded a separate force from Morong, roughly 35 miles east of Manila. Mariano Llanera led the third group, which was based on Bulacan, on the north of the city. Generals were selected by Bonifacio to establish bases in the highlands around the islands of Luzon. Despite his previous military defeats, Bonifacio personally ordered an assault on Marikina, Montalban, and San Mateo. Although he originally succeeded in driving the Spaniards out of this town, they were quickly regained, nearly killing Bonifacio when a bullet went through his collar. To Bonifacio's dismay, he not only lost the presidency to Aguinaldo, but he was also nominated to the lowly position of Secretary of the Interior. When Daniel Terona questioned Bonifacio's eligibility for the office based on his lack of university degree, the embarrassed former president pulled out a revolver that would have killed Terona if a passerby hadn't intervened. See? He almost killed someone. So, Emilio Aguinaldo, he led his country to achieve independence after fighting off Americans and Spaniards. The Filipinos, who declared their independence from Spain on June 12, 1898, proclaimed a provisional republic of which Aguinaldo was to become a president. In September, a revolutionary assembly met and ratified Filipino independence. So, Emilio Aguinaldo. On June 12, 1898, the Filipinos declared their independence from Spain, establishing a temporary republic with Aguinaldo as president, and in September, a revolutionary assessment gathered and recognized Filipino independence. The Philippines, along with Puerto Rico and Guam, were given to the United States by Spain in the Treaty of Paris, signed on December 10, 1898. Relations between Americans and Filipinos were strained and deteriorated over time. The Malolos Constitution, which had been ratified by the Parliament, and Aguinaldo was proclaimed on June 23, 1899, establishing the Philippines as a republic. Aguinaldo, who had previously served as president of the interim government, was elected president. The anticipated battle between Americans and Filipinos surrounding Manila erupted on the night of February 4. The Filipinos who had battled courageously had been crushed at every turn by the morning of February 5. While the combat was still going on, Aguinaldo declared war on United States, which quickly deployed reinforcement to the Philippines. The Philippine government fled to the north. The Filipinos turned to guerrilla warfare in November 1899. After 3 years of costly combat, the revolution was ultimately pulled down on March 23, 1901, when Aguinaldo was caught in his hidden headquarters at Palanan in northern Luzon in a daring operation headed by General Frederick Funston. Aguinaldo swore allegiance to the United States, and he received a pension from the federal government and retired to private life.
Letter D. Apolinario Mabini. He was a Filipino revolutionary leader, educator, lawyer, and statesman who served first as a legal and constitutional advisor to the revolutionary government, and then as the first Prime Minister of the Philippines upon the establishment of the First Philippine Republic. He is regarded as the utak ng himagsikan or brain of the revolution, and is also considered as a national hero in the Philippines. Apolinario Mabini was one of the foremost of the Philippine revolutionary heroes. He was the brains of the revolution, crippled as a young man by polio. He realized that his physical limitations not only limited his personal life but the struggle his beloved homeland was undergoing to become a sovereign republic. Hindi naging hadlang ang kanyang kapansanan upang ipaglaban ang ating bayan. He was a Filipino political philosopher and architect of the Philippine Revolution. He formulated the principles of a democratic popular government, endowing the historical struggles of the Filipino people with a coherent ideological orientation. Letter E. Marcelo H. Del Pilar. He was a Filipino writer, lawyer, journalist, and Freemason. Del Pilar, along with Jose Rizal and Graciano Lopez Haina, become known as the leaders of the reform movement in Spain, or the propaganda movement. It encompasses the activities of a group of Filipinos who called the political reforms in their land in the late 19th century, and produced books, leaflets, and newspaper articles to educate others about their goals and issues they were trying to solve. He preached the gospel of work, self-respect, and human dignity. His mastery of Tagalog, his native language, enabled him to arouse the consciousness of the masses to the need for unity and sustained resistance against the Spanish tyrants. Father of Philippine journalism, for his 150 essays and 66 editorials, mostly published in La Solidaridad, and various anti-prior pamphlets, Del Pilar is widely regarded as the father of the Philippine journalism. Letter F. Sultan Dipatuan Kudarat led his country to achieve independence after fighting off Americans and Spaniards. The Filipinos who declared their independence from Spain on June 12, 1898, proclaimed a provisional republic of which Aguinaldo was to become a president. In September, a revolutionary assembly met and ratified Filipino independence. During his reign, he successfully fought off Spanish invasions and halted the spread of Catholicism on the island of Mindanao. much like the other Muslim rulers in the southern Philippines. He was a peerless fighter, a Filipino hero in defense of Islamic faith and Philippine liberty. The Soc-Sargent province of Sultan Kudarat is named after him, together with the municipality of Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao, where his descendants of datus and rulers are still the current political leaders. Brave, wise, and benevolent, he was the greatest and strongest Mindanao Sultan that ever lived.
Juan Luna, he was the first to be recognized as a Filipino artist. Kilala siya sa kanyang obra na nangangalang Spoliarium na nagdedepikto kung ano nangyari sa mga Pilipino noong panahon ng Spanish ruling. He was a political activist of the Philippine Revolution during the late 19th century. His paintings depicted the sufferings of the Filipino under the Spanish ruling. Melchora Aquino, also known as Tandang Sora, was already 84 years old when she became involved with the Philippine Revolution. She largely contributed to the Katipunan and was nicknamed the Mother of the Katipunan. Andres Bonifacio, the leader of the Katipunan, consulted her several times for his large decision-making for the organization. Noong mga panahon ng revolusyon, ang bahay ni Tandang Sora naging meeting place ng mga Katipuneros kasi syempre kilala naman ng mga Katipuneros noon na against talaga sila sa mga gustong mangyari ng mga Spaniards. Yung kanyang bahay din nagsilbi din siyang as hospital ng mga Katipuneros na nasaktan sa panahon ng digmaan. Gabriela Silang, wife of a well-known hero, Diego Silang. She joined the revolt against the Spaniards alongside her husband. Pero nung namatay ang kanyang asawa, yung mga tauhan nito nawala ng pag-asa na maging successful yung revolt. Walang gustong pumalit sa pwesto ni Diego Silang. So, ang ginawa ni Gabriela, siyang pumalit sa kanyang asawa, kaya siya tinawag na Generala. She successfully led her men against the Spaniards. At dahil hindi matanggap ng mga Spaniards na natalo sila ng isang babae, gumawa talaga sila ng paraan para mahuli si Gabriela. And Gabriela was hanged to death in front of the crowd of Spaniards. At dito na po nagtatapos ang Lesson 12, Rizal, a National Hero.